Hello friends, it's Lisa and welcome to a very exciting reading vlog. So at the very beginning of the year, I put out a video predicting books that I thought I was going to read this year that were going to be 5 stars. In that video, I had 4 2022 releases as well as 4 backlisted titles I just had on my TBR that I thought were going to be 5 stars. And I thought it'd be fun this year to put out some vlogs reading some of the books on this list. I thought it would be fun to take you all along on the journey of reading these books. You can see my thoughts kind of more in real time and we can see if these books were 5 stars or not. So I plan on doing a few vlogs throughout the year reading these books and this is the first one and I'm very excited about it. So in my 5-star predictions video, I had 4 2022 releases and 4 backlisted titles. So I think each vlog I'm going to read one of the new releases and one of the backlisted titles. So let's go over my TBR for this particular 5-star predictions vlog. For the backlisted title, I wanted to pick up Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and this is a YA fantasy that was actually released back in 2008, I believe, and they got reprinted with these new covers, which made me get kind of re-interested. I was already intrigued by these books and this series, but the new covers definitely piqued my interest even more, so I had a good feeling about this, so that's why I put it on my 5-star predictions list for this year. And for the 2022 new release for this 5-star predictions vlog, I decided to read All My Rage by Saboteur. Saboteur is one of my favorite authors, and I just had a feeling this book was going to be very emotional, so that's kind of why I put it on my 5-star predictions list. So these are the first 2 books I decided to read off of my 5-star predictions list, and also do not worry, this vlog is going to be spoiler free. I'm not going to talk about spoilers for either of these books. But that is it. This is the TBR for the vlog, and I will let you guys just continue on watching and hear my thoughts on these books. I started reading Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and I'm not too far in it, but I did want to give some initial thoughts. I'm on page 62, so I haven't read a ton, but I'm definitely super intrigued so far. I feel like just like the whole world and the characters and all of the different kingdoms and all of the different like relationships and things going on is super intriguing. We're following this girl named Katza who is a graceling, and basically if you're a graceling that means you have these special powers, and Katza's powers is that she can like kill a man basically with her bare hands. So she's kind of been trained to know like exactly what she needs to do in order to just like hurt somebody versus like actually go as far as to kill them. And she is actually the niece to the king of one of these kingdoms. There's 7 kingdoms in this world, and she is kind of used by the king, her uncle, to kind of go around and like basically threaten people and kill people and hurt people who try to like go against him. But not only is she doing that, but she also has her own secret group of people, and it's kind of expanded across all of the different kingdoms in this world where they will try to kind of help people in all of these different places because all of the rulers of these different kingdoms don't really treat their people very well. So her and a bunch of people are kind of secretly trying to help different people get through different situations or get them out of trouble or avoid trouble. So the start of this book starts with her like breaking into these prisons and like getting a prisoner out. And I think this book is going to be trying to figure out why this person was taken prisoner in the first place, and I'm very intrigued so far. There definitely were a few moments where the world building and the different kingdoms and all the different characters and things like that was a bit info dumpy, but I know like where that kind of was in the book, so if I ever do get confused about the different like kingdoms and everything, I know that there's like a couple pages where it explains all of it, but it's honestly not that confusing. Like as I was reading it, I was like, whoa, this is a lot of information, but like after I kind of got past that point, I was like, oh, okay, like I definitely understood what they were saying. So it was a bit info dumpy, but not confusing to follow. And yeah, I'm just really intrigued so far. So far I am liking it, but I am only 60 pages in, so we'll see. But yeah, I am reading this for the Magical Readathon, and so hopefully I will be finishing it over the next few days because I want to finish this before the readathon ends. So hopefully I will be able to give some more thoughts throughout. I definitely want to update again once I've made it a little bit farther in.
She doesn't know that your favorite place is still mine.
So I am like exactly halfway through Graceling, and I wanted to give a bit of an update because I think when I first gave an update I was only like 60 pages in, and I feel like once I hit that 100-page mark I really got into this. Like I had to kind of put the book down. I wanted to read it. It was starting to get late, but I had to put it down because I knew I needed to get up the next morning and get going, and I just shouldn't stay up late reading it, but I kind of had to force myself to put it down, which I feel like is a good sign. And also I feel like I've been really excited to be able to read it. Like when I haven't been able to read it, I've been looking forward to getting back into reading it. So I feel like that's a good sign. I will say there's definitely some funky things with the writing, just a few sentences that kind of are a bit odd sometimes, but I do like the writing for the most part. There's just been a couple of things with it that's been a little funky, like I said. I don't know how else to describe it, just like things being a little like repetitive, I guess. But I do think the writing is beautiful as well, so that's just like a very small thing. And also the kind of romance in this book, I feel like, I don't know, like I don't know how to explain it. Like I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a bad thing, like a thing that I didn't like about it. I just feel like the romance like started to like slowly progress, and then it kind of felt like we were like progressing on a normal slope, and then all of a sudden it spiked and they were like confessing their love for one another. Obviously, like they didn't confess their love and then everything was like sunshine and rainbows, because I'm only like halfway through the book. So it's not like it was like easy, and it hasn't been easy for them, but it just felt like it like kind of spiked a bit very quickly. I don't know, just like between like, oh, I feel like they're starting to have feelings for another, to very much having feelings for another and admitting it to each other happened very quickly. But I do really like the romance in here, so like in a way I don't really care. I also know too that I do love a good like slow burn moment. I would feel like if, you know, there was this much left of the book, that would be too soon for them to be admitting their feelings. So it could just be that as well. And I wouldn't necessarily say like I disliked the way that things happened and like the way their relationship progressed. I definitely wouldn't say that I disliked it. It's just something that I noticed. It's not something that I liked or didn't like. I felt very neutral on it. It's just something that I felt was something to point out, I guess. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying it, which I'm really excited about, because obviously I did put this on my 5-star predictions, but I did that purely based off of the vibes. I've never read from this author before. I haven't read another book in this series. This is the first one in the series, so I really didn't know exactly what to expect. I just had a good feeling about it. And sometimes those feelings are very wrong, but sometimes they're right. And I feel like I may have gotten it right with this. I still, again, don't know if this is going to necessarily be a 5-star, but I definitely feel like it's going to be like a high-ish rating. But we'll see. I mean, I still have half the book left, and I'm really enjoying what I've read so far, and I've just been really wanting to pick it up. So I'm actually reading this for the Magical Readathon. I don't know if I've said that already. I feel like I have. And today is last day of the readathon, so I'm going to be trying to get this second half read today, and I will definitely be coming back with all my thoughts. But so far, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm very excited about it, because this was one of my options on my 5-star predictions list. I wasn't completely sure if I would be correct, but I definitely am enjoying it, so only time will tell. Okay, I'm back with my final thoughts on Graceling by Kristen Cashore, and to be honest, I'm still kind of going back and forth on a rating for this. I'm stuck between giving it a 4 or a 4.5. So I may give it a 4.25, which I know is like super annoying, and I try not to use like quarter-star ratings too often because it just feels a little extra, but I honestly feel like a 4.25 might be what makes the most sense with this book, but I feel like I'm maybe leaning more towards a 4. I did really enjoy this. I felt while I was reading it, I was having such a great time. I really liked the world. I loved the magic system. I loved that these characters who are Gracelings have all of these like special abilities, but everyone is unique. So no Graceling has the exact same power. And I just found that that was a very interesting way of having the magic work in this world, because there's no other like, as far as this book goes, I don't know if that changes later on in the series, but there's no like magical creatures or other like outside forces of magic. It's all just Gracelings who have these powers, so I think that that's really cool. There also is a pretty big emphasis on the romance in this book, I feel like, which I really liked. I did like the romance a lot. It wasn't anything that I was like obsessed with, but I did really enjoy it. And I think the fact that romance, I think, plays such a big part in this series as a whole is going to be something that's really fun to read for me, because I love a good romance moment. But something I wanted to bring up, and I'm going to keep it pretty vague because I don't want to get into spoiler territory, but I think it's something that I want to mention in case you're interested in picking up this book. But there is a character that is disabled, and their disability kind of gets magicked away. They get magically healed, and that is something that unfortunately comes up a lot in fantasy novels. So it's something that I wanted to mention because I think this book was released in 2008, and for the most part I think it holds up pretty well. I don't think there were any lines where I was like, ooh yeah, this was written in 2008, because there are some books that you read from that time and it's like, oh yeah, these jokes are not funny. And just, you know, the language or the way things are described, people are described, you can tell that it was written long ago. And I don't feel like that was the case with this book other than that one issue. But something else I wanted to talk about is the author actually acknowledges that in the back of this book. I think with these reprinted novels and covers and everything, she kind of wrote a little bit in the back about her experience releasing this book and over the years, like the things that she's learned and everything. And there's a whole section in the back of this book of her kind of talking about that, and that she unfortunately like neglected to think about how that is problematic, and it's something that she's grateful that she learned about and that she is trying to learn and continuing to listen and grow from these experiences. So obviously I'm not trying to say whether that's okay or not, because that's not my place to say whether that apology makes up for everything, but I do think it's great that she included it in the actual novel, because I bet a lot more people are going to be picking up these books because of these new covers, and I think it's important that she acknowledged it in the actual novel where people will finish the book and then read that, because I unfortunately think there's a lot of authors that would just ignore that. They would ignore people trying to tell them these things, or they would even like fight against it, or maybe they'd acknowledge it but they would continue to print the book and that'd be it. So I think it's important that she acknowledged it in the back of the actual novel where readers will, be reading this book and then we'll see that in the same place. So I don't know, I just wanted to mention it because it's something that made me feel a little weird about the book, but also the author does acknowledge it in the novel, so I just wanted to make everyone aware. So I do think that that kind of took away a little bit of my enjoyment of the book. It also just didn't give me those 5-star feelings. I'm definitely a more I feel like emotional reader. If a book makes me feel something, or just I just feel like I can base my ratings based off of how I feel. Sometimes it is a bit more critical, but I do think my emotions and my feelings play a big role into how I feel about books. So it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling, but I still really enjoyed it. I don't even know, I think you can see behind me, I have actually purchased the rest of the series, so I think that's a good sign. I definitely want to continue on. I really enjoyed it, really enjoyed the world, liked the characters. I had a good time while I was reading it, so I think I'm gonna land on probably a 4-star, maybe a 4.25, but definitely had a good time, want to continue on with the series, and I think for the most part, as a book that was released in 2008, it held up.
All I wanted was a bit of honesty, but you were fronting, you never really wanted me. When I asked you if you wanted to be more than friends, you went.
So I wanted to give my first update in On My Rage, but first, excuse the appearance, excuse the sick voice, and excuse the evidence of illness in the background. My tissues, my various cough drop wrappers. It's rough out here, but I'm okay. But On My Rage by Saboteur, I've officially started it, and I feel like I really struggled to kind of give a synopsis of this book in previous videos, and I think it's because it's a very character-driven novel. You're following these two characters that both have a lot going on in their lives and things that they're really struggling with, whether that has to do with their family or their own kind of mental health or whatever it may be. And we're also getting some of the perspective from one of the characters, Sal, his mom, who in the present timeline is sick, and then we're getting occasional flashback chapters in her perspective, and we're just kind of seeing her life from years ago before she had Sal and all of that. And I really am liking this so far. I definitely love books that are more character driven, especially if I care about the characters, and right now I'm just really wanting these characters to be happy and to get through everything that they're going through, and to get everything that they want, everything that they need. And so I really am liking this book so far because it is so character driven. So we're seeing those chapters kind of mixed in with the present day. We're following these two friends, Sal and Noor. I don't know if I'm saying her name right because it's Noor. My instinct was Noor, but it's literally in the book that that's not correct. And I've watched pronunciation videos and I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, so I'll work on it. But we're following the both of them, and they were friends, but they've kind of had this fight kind of at the beginning of the book, and we're kind of seeing them come back together to kind of go through the difficult things that they're dealing with. So it's definitely more character driven, which is definitely something that I prefer, like, I can read a book where there's no plot, but the characters are my everything, and I will give it 5 stars, whereas I can't really read a book and have it be very, like, plot heavy and not really care about the characters. Like, I won't give that 5 stars. So this is definitely my preference. But yeah, so far I am really enjoying it. I am on page 98, so almost 100 pages in. And so far so good. I am annotating this book, sort of. I have 2 tabs, one for beautiful prose and like writing and quotes that I love because it's Sabatier, so I knew there was going to be some beautiful writing in here. But I also have a tab for like sad and emotional moments because it's Sabatier, so I knew there would be a lot of sad moments as well. So yeah, I definitely have a couple of tabs so far, and I'm just really enjoying it so far. It's very emotional, very sad. So I'm hoping things get better for a lot of these characters, but right now it's just very emotional and very sad. But I am really enjoying it so far, and I really love the writing and the characters and everything, so far so good.
Trying to get back on my feet, but it won't happen as long as you're still haunting me. So I'm writing all these songs to get you out my head, but the memories stay behind. Sometimes I start missing you crazy, ain't nothing quite like you.
Okay, now it's time to wrap up my thoughts on All My Rage, and unlike Graceling, I know exactly when I'm writing this. 5 stars. I still don't know how to put into words how much I loved this book. It was such an emotional read, but so important, and I think in general, you can just tell how much this story and these characters mean to Sabatier. I think there are a lot of influences from her own life in this novel. I know, like, I think grew up actually in a motel like Sal, so I think it's a very similar like thing. It's very personal to her, and you can tell there's just so many emotions in this book, and I just felt so impacted by the story and the characters. It's just so good. Probably, like, I don't know, it's bold to say like my favorite of the year. It's probably my favorite of the year so far. It will definitely be in my top 3, I think, of my favorite books of this year. It just was so good, and everyone needs to read it. There was a point where I was a little concerned about if I was going to be enjoying this book as much as I could have, because I read like 100 pages and then took a week off of reading it for a readathon and then jumped right back in like after that readathon ended. I was worried that I was going to feel a bit detached after taking a week off of reading it, but I didn't need to worry. The second I picked this book up, literally page 1, where I started off after like taking this break, I was back into it. I don't even have words. Like, literally, I finished this book and I was just like trying to comprehend how I felt, and I literally just kept crying. It's one of those books that has kind of left me speechless, and all I can say is that everyone needs to read it. This whole book, I was just so concerned and scared for these characters because they start off the book in not a great situation. Both Noor and Sal kind of have difficult things going on in their lives, and you kind of see them start to do things that maybe aren't the best decisions, but they think that they're helping themselves. But obviously, like, not only as a reader, but as someone who's never been in a similar situation as these characters, I can kind of look at it and be like, this is not the answer. And obviously it's a very privileged place for me to be like, I've never had to experience the things that they've experienced, and to know that that's not what they should be doing. But for them and for their situation, they were just trying to survive, which was very emotional, but you kind of knew that it was going to end up causing even more problems for them. And there was a point where I just got so stressed and I was so concerned for these characters that I just had to put the book down and like take a break. And I think I picked it up the next day. I couldn't read anymore because I was so scared for them and just wanted them to be okay. Also, the writing in this is absolutely stunning. I mean, I knew I was gonna like the writing because I've read the Ember and the Ashes series and I know her writing is stunning. But the way that she made me care so much for these characters, and also just so many beautiful quotes, it really says a lot about her writing and her talent and the way that she's able to make you feel. I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles here. I'm just overwhelmed still by this book. I finished this book a couple weeks ago and I still don't know how to process how I feel because it just made me feel way too much. It's such a heartbreaking but beautiful story, and I loved the different point of views that we got, and it's just so good. It's so good. 5 stars. I think everyone needs to read this. I know I've said that a few times, but truly one of those books that everyone needs to read. I will be surprised, again, if this doesn't make like the top 3 of my favorites of 2022 list. It was just so good. So powerful. Beautiful. Highly recommend. please read this. But that's it. Those are the first 2 books that I read off of my 5-star predictions list of 2022. And I would say we're off to a pretty good start. Obviously, All My Rage was a 5-star, so definitely was correct there, and I love being right. And even though I wasn't completely correct with Graceling, I ended up giving it 4 stars instead of 5. I still think that that's really great. That's still a very high rating. I still really enjoyed it, and we'll definitely be continuing on with the rest of the series as they are stacked behind me. So definitely off to a really great start. Definitely got 1 right out of the 8, so happy with that so far. I don't know if the rest of these vlogs are going to be quite as successful, but only time will tell. You have to stay tuned to see the rest of my 5-star predictions vlogs and see if I know my taste. But that is going to be it for the first vlog in this little series. I'm so excited to continue to read my 5-star predictions and keep these vlogs going. And if you have any books off of my backlist that you want me to read sooner rather than later, definitely let me know. Obviously, I have to wait for the books that are coming out this year to be released in order to read them. But from the books that are kind of the backlisted titles, definitely let me know which ones I should read ASAP. But I think that's gonna be it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.